Is the Nikon D700 camera still relevant in the world of modern photography? I know there are other videos on this topic, but I would like to throw my hat into the ring. I look forward to reading your opinions and comments in the comments section down below. In the year 2022, we are completely spoiled for choice. There are cameras that are capable of shooting at ridiculously high resolutions, one example being the Hasselblad H6D 400C, which has a 100 megapixel sensor. Sony's autofocus system is so good that they have forced other manufacturers to up their game in order to compete. Panasonic's Lumix G9 boasts 20 frames per second in burst mode with continuous autofocus, and as much as 60 frames per second with single autofocus. Fujifilm's crop sensor mirrorless cameras have that retro film camera aesthetic, in-baked film simulations for great-looking shots straight out of the camera, and all in a compact and portable body. Mirrorless cameras have crisp, clean and attractive lenses that are lightweight, practical and versatile. It is becoming the norm to see flip-out articulated screens on modern cameras, which has definitely increased the appeal for videographers, bloggers and YouTube content creators. 4K 60 frames per second video is now accessible to most movie creators on a very reasonable budget. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity are now normally accepted additions. 14 years ago, the benchmark was very different. The Nikon D700 may be an absolute dinosaur of a digital camera when compared to modern cameras, but it still holds its head high in the photography world. Weighing in at just under 1 kilogram without a battery or lens, the D700 is a solid and reliable camera. After adding a hefty 18 to 70 2.8 lens or a 70 to 200 and a battery grip, you are carrying a weapon capable of crushing one's skull if so desired. Cancel your gym membership because you'll not need it after lugging this brute around all day. The D700, released in 2008, is definitely showing its age some 14 years after its release date. Its 12.1 36 by 23.9mm CMOS sensor is claimed by many to have some sort of special film-like quality. It is capable of shooting 5 frames per second in burst mode, upgradable to 8 frames per second with a battery grip. So, why am I making this video? Because the Nikon D700 is a legendary camera that has earned its reputation by producing some of the most beautiful photos seen in the digital realm. The D700 doesn't need any in-baked simulations to produce deliciously creamy pictures that capture true-to-life skin tones, beautiful vivid color, and easily enough resolution to turn your digital prints into a 20 by 30 inch piece of art for your home or business. As a portrait camera, the D700 is revered for producing flattering skin tones and creamy bokeh. It has excellent autofocus with 51 focus points. The ability of the D700's full frame sensor to capture high ISO, low noise images make it great in low light situations and in natural light. The D700 shoots in RAW or JPEG, or you can save both at the same time. Many professional photographers still opt for using the D700 in a professional setting for things like weddings and events. Here are some of the images I've taken with the D700. As you can see, the colors are spectacular, the resolution is adequate. I remember thinking 4 megapixels was amazing back in the early 2000s. 12.1 megapixels with the pixel density of this camera produces easily enough resolution and has a certain aesthetic that is visually pleasing. Canon cameras are renowned for producing vibrant and natural color. Well, I think the D700 also falls into that category. With a minimum of editing, images from the D700 certainly look beautiful, with rich, smooth color and that film-esque quality about the texture and detail. After owning a D700 Dinosaur for the past 2 years, I can honestly say, yes, the D700 is a camera that can create beautiful pictures that can be, in many ways, as aesthetically pleasing as any modern camera on the market today. I'm not saying that this camera is better in any way than modern cameras. Let's look at some of the pros and cons of the Nikon D700. Right, some of the pros. I've seen an ad for a functioning D700 with a shutter count of 377,000 actuations. Price. I paid 360 Australian dollars and it came with 2 batteries and an 18-120 3.5 to 5.6 Nikkor lens. Not bad for a camera that cost in excess of 3,000 Australian 14 years ago. It has a full frame sensor. It has small file sizes, so it is fantastic for someone with limited hard drive space. The ergonomics are fantastic with a shutter speed dial and an aperture dial on the front. It has a large, clear viewfinder. The picture quality. You'll be hard pressed finding more pleasing looking images from any digital camera, and the colors are simply beautiful. Fast and accurate autofocus. I know that won't compare to modern cameras, but it still is fast and accurate. It has buttons so everything can be controlled without going into the menu system. You can switch between auto and manual focus, change focus modes, metering modes, white balance, exposure compensation, and more, all using buttons and switches on the camera. Custom shooting modes. The magnesium alloy body and weather sealing mean you can use this camera in most weather conditions. The last positive is it could be used as a weapon if you really needed it to. Cons. Yes, it's an old camera. It looks old. It feels old. Some of the rubber may be perished depending on the previous use and condition. Lack of video. Yes, it only shoots photos. Weight. When compared to modern cameras, especially the Micro Four Thirds and crop sensor mirrorless cameras, it is a brutishly heavy camera. Slow frames per second, especially without the battery grip. Only 5 frames per second. Moving files from this camera to programs like Lightroom takes a long time. It's very slow. The old style compact flash Type 1 memory cards, they're a bit obsolete these days. It has no flippy screen. It has no HDR mode, thankfully. It has no in-body stabilization. So, is it worth buying and using a D700 in the year 2022? Well, for someone on a budget, someone learning digital photography, someone who wants to work with relatively small file sizes, or even someone wanting to experience producing beautiful images on a very satisfying full-frame sensor, I have no hesitation in recommending the D700. Do I think it's better than modern DSLR or mirrorless cameras? No, I don't think it's better. But for less than 1/10 of the cost of some of the modern cameras, I do believe the D700 is exceptional value and can more than hold its own. I definitely love my D700 and will use it until it decides that it won't lift that mirror anymore. Even then, I will consider buying another one.